Let me tell you about a person named Lenny, and I want you to pay close attention to whether this story sounds familiar to you. Lenny is a successful software engineer making a solid six-figure income. He's got a great job, he's climbing the corporate ladder, and on paper, his financial situation looks absolutely incredible. But here's the thing that nobody talks about. Despite making more money than 90% of Americans, Lenny still feels stressed about his finances. He still lives paycheck to paycheck. He's got maybe 1 month of expenses saved up, and that's on a good month. His wife works as a marketing manager, bringing in around $55,000 per year. So their combined household income sits at around $160,000. That puts them in the top 15% of American households. By every metric, they should be crushing it. They should be building generational wealth. They should feel financially secure and confident about their future. Instead, Lenny is stressed. He's tired. When his car needed a $5,000 repair last month, he had to put it on a credit card. When he got a raise he didn't celebrate, he felt obligated to upgrade to a nicer vehicle because his old car was getting older and he was worried about reliability. The craziest part is that Lenny has done everything right. He got the education, he got the career, he's following the script that society gave him. So why does it feel like his vehicle is actually eating away at his wealth instead of just serving as transportation? If you've ever made a really good income and still felt financially fragile, if you've ever wondered where all your money goes even though you're making six figures, this video is going to make a lot of things click into place. My name is Lenny, and I spend way too much time thinking about how the average vehicle purchase decision quietly destroys wealth for millions of Americans. If you're someone who drives a car, which statistically you probably do, and you've ever felt like your vehicle expenses are out of control, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you see your finances differently. Here's the thing that I want you to understand right from the start. We've been sold this story that your car is an investment, that it's an asset, that buying a nice car is something you've earned because you work hard and you deserve it. But that narrative is one of the biggest financial lies that we've been sold in modern society, and almost nobody questions it. The truth is that for most people, your vehicle is the second or third largest wealth destroyer in your financial life, right after housing and maybe healthcare. And unlike housing, which at least builds some equity, a car is a pure liability that depreciates from the moment you drive it off the lot. Think about it this way. The average new car loses 15% of its value in the first year alone. After 5 years, it's worth roughly 50% of what you paid for it. After 10 years, that car that you were so excited to buy is practically worthless. But you're still paying for it. You're still spending money to maintain it. You're still insuring it. You're still putting gas in it. The concept of how vehicles silently sabotage wealth is something that I want to explore deeply today, because I think most people have never actually done the math on what their car is really costing them. They know they have a car payment, they know insurance exists, they know gas is expensive, but they've never sat down and calculated the true lifetime cost of vehicle ownership. Let me take you back to the 1970s and 80s for a moment, because understanding how we got here is crucial to understanding the trap that most of us are caught in today. In the 1970s, the average car lasted about 125,000 miles. People bought cars and they kept them for a long time. They repaired them, they drove them until they literally couldn't drive anymore. A typical middle-class household would buy one reliable used car, pay it off, and then drive it for 10 to 15 years. They might have 2 cars if both parents worked, but the second car was often an older used vehicle. And critically, car payments weren't a permanent fixture in people's monthly budgets. Cars were paid for, and then you owned them outright for years and years. Now here's what's different today. The auto industry, working with finance companies, has fundamentally restructured how Americans think about vehicle ownership. Instead of buying a car and owning it, we've shifted toward this model where you're in a perpetual cycle of payments. Think about the modern American car owner. They finance a new vehicle for 6 years. The moment that car is paid off, which coincidentally happens right around when major repairs start becoming more likely, they trade it in and get a new car. Now they've got another 6-year loan. Then they upgrade again. It's a never-ending treadmill of car payments that most people don't even recognize as a trap. The average car payment in America today is around $550 per month. That's for a new vehicle. For someone financing a luxury or premium vehicle, you're looking at $700, $800, sometimes even more. Over the course of a 6-year loan, that's $39,600 just in monthly payments. But here's where it gets really interesting and where most people start to zone out because they think they already understand car expenses. The payment is actually just the tip of the iceberg. It's not even close to the total cost of owning that vehicle. Let's talk about insurance. The average car insurance policy in America costs around $1,800 per year. Some people pay more, some pay less, but let's use that as our baseline. That's $150 every single month. Over 6 years, that's $10,800 just to have insurance on your vehicle. Then there's fuel. The average American drives around 13,000 miles per year. If you're driving a car that gets 25 miles per gallon and gas costs around $3 per gallon, which it probably will for the foreseeable future, you're spending $1,560 per year on gas. Over 6 years, that's $9,360. Then there's maintenance and repairs, oil changes, tire rotations, brake pads, filters, unexpected repairs. The average vehicle owner spends around $1,200 per year on maintenance and repairs. Some years it's much less. Some years, especially as the vehicle ages, it's much more. But let's use $1,200 as our baseline. Over 6 years, that's $7,200. Then there's registration and taxes. State registration fees, property taxes on vehicles, smog checks, inspections, all of these add up to around $150 per year in most states, but it varies. That's another $900 over 6 years. Now let's add it up. Monthly payment of $550 for 6 years is $39,600. Insurance at $150 per month for 6 years is $10,800. Fuel at $1,560 per year for 6 years is $9,360. Maintenance at $1,200 per year for 6 years is $7,200. Registration and taxes at $150 per year for 6 years is $900. The total cost to own that vehicle for 6 years is approximately $67,860. Now, here's the thing that really matters. At the end of 6 years, after you've spent all of that money, what do you have to show for it? You've got a vehicle that's probably worth somewhere around 20 to 25% of what you originally paid for it. If you paid $40,000 for that car, it's now worth maybe $8,000 to $10,000. So the net cost of driving that vehicle for 6 years, the amount of wealth that it actually destroyed, is somewhere in the neighborhood of $58,000. That's money that you earned through your labor that is now completely gone. It created no equity, it created no asset, it's just gone. And here's the psychological trap that gets most people. Because car payments have become normalized in our society, because everyone has them, because the monthly number seems manageable when you're comparing it to your monthly income, people just accept it as a permanent part of their lives. But let me ask you something. What if you didn't have that $550 car payment? What if you didn't have that $150 insurance cost? What if you didn't have that monthly fuel and maintenance burden? What would that money actually do for you over time? If you took that $550 monthly car payment and invested it instead, over 6 years at an average 7% annual return, you'd have around $42,000. But you didn't invest it. You spent it on a vehicle that's now worth $8,000. Let's take that analysis one step further. What if you invested that money over 30 years? What if starting today, you committed to never having a car payment again? You bought a $10,000 reliable used vehicle, paid cash for it, and committed to driving it for 10 years. Instead of that monthly $550 payment, you invest that money. At a 7% average annual return over 30 years, you're looking at a portfolio worth over $750,000. That's from just the monthly car payment alone. But this is where most people get defensive. They say, Lenny, I need a nice car, I drive for work, I need something reliable, I can't just drive some old clunker. And I hear that argument, I understand it, but I want to challenge you on what you actually need versus what you've been convinced you want. A reliable vehicle doesn't cost $60,000 over 6 years. A reliable vehicle might cost $15,000 if you buy a quality used model that's a few years old and then maintain it properly for 10 years. That's $150 per month spread over the 10-year period, not $550. Here's what the auto industry and finance companies have done. They've convinced us that newer is better. They've convinced us that having the latest features, the newest technology, the most prestigious badge matters. They've created artificial demand by making older vehicles seem unsafe or unreliable when in fact a 6-year-old Honda or Toyota is incredibly reliable if it's been properly maintained. The average car on the road today is around 11 or 12 years old. That's because people are keeping their vehicles longer as they wake up to the true cost of new car purchases. Yet the marketing machine keeps pushing the narrative that you need a new car every few years. I want to tell you about something that happened to Lenny that really illustrates this trap. Lenny's neighbor, let's call him Marcus, makes a similar income. Marcus is also a successful professional. But Marcus made a different decision about cars. 10 years ago, Marcus bought a Toyota Camry for $12,000 using his savings. He paid cash for it. He spent $500 on maintenance in the first year, got the oil changed regularly, replaced the tires when they needed replacing, and otherwise just drove the thing. Fast forward 10 years, Marcus's Camry is now worth maybe $5,000 to $6,000. But here's the thing. Over those 10 years, Lenny had 3 car payments. First a Toyota at $42,000, financed over 6 years. Then 3 years later, he traded that in for a nicer BMW at $55,000, financed over 6 years. Then 2 years ago, he upgraded again to a luxury SUV at $65,000. Lenny has paid approximately $135,000 in car payments, insurance, fuel, and maintenance over the past 10 years. Marcus has paid approximately $12,000 for the car plus maintenance costs of maybe $3,000 to $4,000 over the entire 10 years. The difference is over $100,000. $100,000 that Lenny could have invested, that could have compounded, that could have been earning him money instead of costing him money. Now, you might be thinking that this analysis is unfair. You might be thinking that Lenny got to drive nice cars and enjoy the experience of driving a luxury vehicle, while Marcus was stuck with the same boring Camry for 10 years. And sure, that's true. Lenny had more fun. But here's the question. Was that fun worth $100,000? For most people, when you put it in those terms, the answer is no. $100,000 is retirement money. That's financial independence money. That's the difference between working until you're 70 and being able to retire at 60. That's generational wealth that could have been left to your kids. The vehicle trap works a lot like the housing trap that we talked about in previous videos. It works through the mechanism of normalized debt. Because everyone has car payments, because car payments are just accepted as normal, you don't think about them as unusual. You don't think about them as a choice. But here's the reality. Having a car payment is absolutely a choice. It's a choice that you make usually without even realizing that you're making it. Every time you decide that you need a newer vehicle or a nicer vehicle or a more impressive vehicle than the one you currently own, the trap snaps shut when you're dependent on that payment structure. When you've made financial commitments based on having that vehicle or based on being able to easily upgrade to a nicer vehicle, you're locked in. You can't go backward. You can't downgrade because your self-image or your social status feels tied to the vehicle you drive. And this is where the true damage happens. Not just to your finances, but to your time, your mental health, and your life options. Because that vehicle payment multiplied by the cost of insurance and fuel and maintenance takes money away from the things that actually matter. It takes away from building an emergency fund that would give you security. It takes away from paying off high-interest debt that's costing you money. It takes away from investing for retirement. It takes away from having the flexibility to take a job you actually love instead of taking a job that pays enough to cover all your expenses. Think about what true wealth actually is. Wealth isn't about driving a nice car. Wealth is about having options. Wealth is about having money that works for you instead of money that you work for. Wealth is about being able to make decisions based on what's best for your life rather than decisions based on what's necessary to maintain your lifestyle. Every dollar you spend on vehicle payments and expenses is a dollar that you're not investing. And compounding means that a dollar you invest today at age 25 could be worth $10 by the time you're 65. That luxury car payment isn't just costing you the $500 per month, it's costing you $5,000 per month in opportunity cost. Let me break down what I think is a realistic path forward if you're currently trapped in the vehicle payment cycle. First, recognize the trap. Admit to yourself that your current vehicle situation might not be serving your actual needs, but rather your perceived needs or your ego. Second, create an exit plan. If you currently have a car payment, don't rush into upgrading or trading in when that payment is done. Drive that vehicle for as long as it's reliable. Most modern vehicles can easily go 200,000 miles with proper maintenance. That's potentially another 10 to 15 years of driving after your loan is paid off. If you can make it through just one full cycle of a paid-off vehicle where you're not making a payment for 5 or 6 years while driving a vehicle that you own outright, the financial impact is transformative. You'd have that $500 payment available to invest, and compounding would start working in your favor instead of against you. Third, when you do need a new vehicle, commit to buying used. A 3 to 5-year-old vehicle with 100,000 miles or less from a reliable manufacturer is going to be significantly cheaper than a new vehicle and will have the vast majority of its useful life ahead of it. Fourth, maintain that vehicle properly. Regular oil changes, tire rotations, brake inspections, and addressing small problems before they become big problems will extend your vehicle's life dramatically and will save you far more money than the cost of the maintenance. Fifth, resist the temptation to upgrade. This is the hardest part because we live in a society where vehicle upgrades are used as a status symbol and as a marker of success. But remember, true success is financial security and freedom, not the prestige of driving a certain brand. Here's what I want to leave you with. The vehicle that you drive is one of the most visible financial decisions you make. It's something that people see, it's something that signals something about you and about your status. And that visibility is exactly what makes it dangerous. Because the vehicle industry knows this. They know that you care how your vehicle makes you look. They know that you care about what people think when they see you pull up in a certain car. So they've built an entire marketing apparatus designed to make you feel like you need to upgrade, like you need to have the newest features, like you need to be driving a vehicle that signals success and achievement. But here's the truth. The most successful people I know, the people who are actually building wealth, the people who are actually achieving financial independence, they tend to drive boring, reliable vehicles that they've owned for a long time. And they drive them not because they can't afford better, but because they understand the true cost of vehicles and they refuse to let that cost sabotage their financial future. Your vehicle is quietly sabotaging your wealth right now. If you're in the payment cycle, it's costing you far more than you think when you account for the opportunity cost of that money. And the only way out is to make a conscious decision to break the cycle. If this video helped you see your vehicle expenses differently, if it helped you understand why you might feel financially stressed despite making a good income, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more content that challenges how you think about money and helps you understand the traps that are quietly destroying your wealth.